So, yeah, everyone, welcome back to True Crime Fridays. Thank you, Morty. Thanks, Jess. Thank you. I tried today. I actually tried. I look kind of like formal up here, but then in work, this is what my tights were in work all day. So these are my tights all day for work. I was just sat on my bed this morning with my scissors butchering my tights. Okay, now I can't sit down. But yeah. But thank you. How is everyone today? I am now doing everyone, welcome back to True Crime Fridays, your hopefully favourite true crime show that takes place every single week on this channel. Tired, been a long ass week. Yep, I feel that. So today I'm drinking Budweiser. Don't really drink Budweiser, but my flatmate brought it home because his friend gave him a crate of it. Neither of us like it, but I do not let beer go to waste. So we're drinking it. So, yeah, welcome back to True Crime Fridays. Today we're doing a much requested case today. Hi, Adam. How you doing? We are covering the case of the Zodiac Killer, which is, I'm going to be honest, not one I've really ever cared too much or focused on. I've not really ever cared or focused on the case of the Zodiac Killer before. I don't know why. I think it's because there's so little about the Zodiac Killer. It takes the interest kind of away, but for most people, it brings them in. For me, it kind of takes the interest away, but, you know, each to their own. But it was requested by M, who is our moderator, who is one of our moderators here on this stream, and also a subscriber. And as you may or may not know, if you are a subscriber to the stream, you get to suggest a true crime case for me to cover on True Crime Fridays, which is a huge benefit, because I'll only listen to you if that is the case. See? Get it? If that is the case. I make stupid jokes. So today's... I am gonna have to say, watch it with the sounds during true crime cases. Because these do go up on YouTube. I want to establish this. All the True Crime Fridays go up on YouTube as a highlight. I don't want to come across as disrespectful. Em, why are you happy? What's up? Before we get started, let's get an update on M's situation with Joseph. That's good. Yeah, they're opening up the Mendez brothers case. They're reopening it. I saw that. It's about freaking time. That is one that I can't ever say I've actually researched enough to know about their background. Hey, HT Rager, how are you? I was so expecting that to be Catalina, because Catalina always uses that sound to make his little entrance. Hi, Melk, how are you doing? I know, I really hope it's true. You know what? Same. I really hope it's true. Let's see how this goes with that. Luckily, the Zodiac Killer has no sexual motivation for any of the crimes, so that one's fine. Oh my god, gay panic. Ah! You got to cuddling. That's good. Did you tell him what we told you to say to him on the stream yesterday? Yeah, so this is going to be very weird. So as we all know, I'm kind of mentally tired, to be honest. I'm not too bad, but luckily today we're talking about we are talking about a serial killer case, but it's not as gruesome as any of the other ones we've ever covered before on here. You look so pretty. Thank you! I put my hair up like this. I'm guessing a lot of people like my hair up like this. I kind of like it. We're going to press you again at some point. We'll do that after we finish talking about the murder. So once this thing has gone away and has switched back to Little Goth Panda, then we can go on how we usually do. So this is going to be the first one that we've actually ever done. Sadly, that is not sexually motivated. That there is no form of sexual abuse in this entire case. Which is amazing, because I'm so sick of doing that. I need a break from that. So thank you, Zodiac Killer, for not being a sexually motivated cunt. Also got an idea for next Friday. Drop it in the True Crime Discord channel, and I'll have a gander, because I've got an idea for next Friday. But if you are a subscriber to the channel and you think you can beat my idea for next week's True Crime Friday, join the Discord and pop it in the True Crime channel, and I'll have a look. Looks so bump, Panda. Yes, Milk. Thank you. So this is going to be a little bit different. Normally, when we talk about serial killers, we go through their background, we go through their childhood. Zodiac Killer, we can't do that because we don't know who he is. It's not unsolved, and it's really like 140 years old. If it's Jack the Ripper, I've already covered it. But let me know. If it's not, and if it's Jack the Ripper. We've already covered Jack the Ripper. We covered Jack the Ripper a few weeks back.
Thanks.
We could possibly at some point revisit it, but I always find Jack the Ripper's only interesting for like how fucking gruesome the murders were. I don't know why. It's just a bit. And also, when I researched that case, I don't know if you ever researched the Jack the Ripper case, but you see way too many dead bodies for the liking. They really like to show you the aftermath of what happened to those women. What the fuck is that sound? It's so addicting. So we're playing a slight bit of pop punk in the background to make this a little bit more lively, hopefully. I'm figuring we're going to start playing a little bit of music in the background, like a little bit of pop punk, just to make it a bit nicer. That's the plan of attack. That's the bad choice of words. I've got another idea though. Literally, pop them in the True Crime channel. Let me know. And I'll see if it meets up to the one I got next week. Because next week is only one murder, but it's gruesome as all hell. He wasn't a murderer. Ooh, different. It's still a criminal and scary. Ooh, definitely pop it in the... pop it in the True Crime channel. And have a look. So, yeah, just pop in the True Crime channel. So, yeah, so we're going to be talking about Zodiac Killer today. So, a little bit of a quick disclaimer. As per usual... Oh, Jesus, Milk. Is this your ex? No, I'm sorry she went missing for 2 weeks, but... For anyone who needs any context, Milk's ex-girlfriend is a cunt. Like, I'm so sorry she went missing for 2 weeks, and I'm so happy that she ended up being okay, but also bitch. Yeah, exactly. There you go. You see it. Okay, so a little bit of a quick disclaimer. As per usual, for every single True Crime Fridays that we do, this is a true crime stream, as we do every single Friday. We are not meaning to cause any offense or any disrespect to any of the victims. We are simply analyzing the psychology of these people, and we are doing this for historical and educational purposes to keep the memory of the victim still alive. I will not be displaying a picture of the criminal on this stream. I will be displaying pictures of the suspects and the victims, but I will not be displaying any pictures of the e-fit for the Zodiac Killer today. That is not something we do here. We do not like to glorify. Get it on a t-shirt, Adam. Adam, get it on a t-shirt now. So, very, very different. As I said, we are going into talking about the Zodiac Killer victims before we do anything else. Now, as into my research, as per usual, I find out a little bit more. So, we don't just talk about the victims who actually died during these crimes. We actually talk about people who were possibly a victim of the Zodiac Killers but has not officially been confirmed. So we can analyse it and come up to our own conclusion as a group. I thought that'd be pretty cool. Hey, gay vibes! Wasn't found. No one knows his face. Not solved. So, we're going to start off with the first possible victim of the Zodiac Killer, who is Ray Davis. So, this is Ray. This is Ray Davis right here. Ray would technically be classed as the Zodiac Killer's first ever victim. That is not right. Of course I fuck it up. Of course I fuck it up. Of course I fuck it up. Give me a second. I tried to do the hotkeys thing. It did not work. Naturally, I can't do things right, dude. Ba-da-da-da. So, there we go. A little bit better. We fixed it. We done fixed it. Apologies for the technical issue. I thought I had it. I thought that I had the hotkeys like down to a T. Evidently, I do not because it's me. When do I ever get things right? Let's be realistic here. I apologize. Have you done this case on David Parker before? I have not. I have not. Like I said, drop everything in the Discord channel and I'll have a look. So yeah, the first possible victim is Ray Davis. So, Ray would technically be classed as the Zodiac Killer's first ever victim if this is actually confirmed. So, Ray died at the age of 27 on the 10th of April 1962, which was a Tuesday, by the way. I have 2 ideas. Like I said, drop them in the channel. Now, Ray's time of attack was around 11:20 p.m. in Oceanside, California. He was shot twice from behind in his own cab. And the weapon was a .22 caliber, and the ammunition was a long rifle. This was identified by the police at the crime scene. Nice. Thank you, Em. So Ray Davis, at the time, had since become estranged from his wife, and he was living with his brother in a rented house at 525 St. Tremont Street in Oceanside. And at 11:20 p.m., Ray, who was a driver for the Checker Cab Company, picked up a fare, basically picked up a customer, at a downtown cab stand, possibly on Mission Avenue, and he notified his dispatcher that he was delivering the customer to a location in South Oceanside. Now, this was the last time anyone actually heard from Ray. After this update, no one heard from Ray ever again after this moment. Early the next morning, Ray's body was found in the exclusive upscale neighborhood called St. Malo. So St. Malo is a very upscale neighborhood. There's a lot of rich people there. It's for the wealthy, etc. So that was actually Oceanside's first ever gated community. So pretty upper class. Ray had been shot twice from the backseat of his cab. One shot to the back and the other to his head. Now, the killer actually dumped the body of Ray in the alley that was nearby, and his killer actually escaped by stealing the cab and quickly abandoning the cab at 400 St. Pacific Street. Now, the exact dump site of the body was an alley direct behind 1926 St. Pacific Street, so it actually wasn't too far away. The investigation revealed that Ray wasn't robbed, so this wasn't like a motivated attack in terms to rob him, other than obviously the cab, which didn't really class it as anyway, because it wasn't actually abandoned too far away from where Ray was left. So he wasn't robbed, and the police could actually never establish a motive for his killing. So the reason why Ray's murder is possibly connected to the Zodiac Killer is because the killer actually called the police in advance before the killing took place and warned them that he would soon be committing a baffling crime. We got beer today, guys. I know it's Budweiser. Do not judge me. Now, soon after this phone call, Ray died. The police received another phone call from the killer, this time threatening to target a random bus driver. I don't let beer go to waste. I didn't buy it, but no one in the flat was going to drink it, so...
And his name is John C.
Now, servicemen from nearby Camp Pendleton were used to help guard the bus stops. So basically, all the guards were actually at various bus stops throughout the city to make sure that no one was going to actually kill anyone as a precaution. Which means that the police straight away was taking this quite seriously. Now, I can never say words. Astonishingly, even though by late 1969, the Zodiac Killer was making headlines throughout the country. So in 1969, it was like absolutely fucking everywhere. No law enforcement agency ever noticed the many similarities between the two cases, but there's actually quite a few. So the similarities actually... When your Wi-Fi cuts out. No! True Crime Fridays gets uploaded to YouTube afterwards. Do not worry. It's always there to be rewatched. So the similarities between the Zodiac killings and Ray's murder case are the following. Shooting a cab driver to death in the wealthiest neighborhood in the city. So this would happen...
Do it! Just do it! Yesterday, you said tomorrow. So just do it! Make your dreams come true! Nothing is impossible! No, what are you waiting for? Do it! Just do it! Yes, you can!
We added that alert for you. Remember? Also, guys, don't be doing this whenever I'm trying to speak. Please don't. Like, genuinely serious. Stop. If you guys are going to be doing this every single time I talk, I'll end up having to stop doing True Crime Fridays on Twitch. Like, I'm going to have to probably stop doing it because I can't if I'm trying to talk about the cases and then all I'm hearing is freaking Rick Astley. Thank you, Em. Not like you're not the one who started it. The chaotic chat. You guys can talk in the chat. You guys can post sounds occasionally, but if you're doing it every single time I try and speak, it does get a bit irritating. Probably not even just for me, but probably for people who really want to listen. If you do want to listen to me talk about the cases. Yeah, it doesn't help the situation. There's people who genuinely probably want to learn about this kind of stuff, and then obviously they can't because of this, and it might annoy other people, and we're trying not to do that. So please be respectful. That's all I ask. And then once True Crime Fridays is over, you can do whatever the frick you want, okay? So calling the police to take credit for the murder was also a thing that was quite similar. So the Zodiac Killer did this with every single murder that he actually committed. Contacting the police to warn them of future murders was another thing that he did. Openly stating his intent was to baffle the police. So the reason why the killer actually mentioned murdering a bus driver was to throw the police off and confuse them. Probably to try and do other crimes in the meantime and try and get their focus off him. Making the bus the subject of the death threat. Displaying no obvious motive for the murder. Like I said, there was no robbery, there was no sexual motivation, nothing was found there except for Ray. And using both a .22 weapon and a long rifle ammunition in the same killing. So this actually becomes quite a similarity. So the next victim was Cherry Jo Bates. She's a possible victim again, so this is actually not completely confirmed, but this is a possibility. So Cherry Jo Bates was 18 years old at the time of her death. She was killed between 9:23 p.m. on the 30th of October 1966, which was a Sunday, or 12:23 a.m. on the 31st of October 1966, which was a Monday. Now, she was killed in an alleyway on the campus of Riverside City College in Riverside, California. Cherry was beaten and stabbed multiple times with a short-bladed knife. Her throat was also cut in the crimes, but there was no evidence of robbery or sexual molestation during any of this. There was also no witnesses at all. On the 30th of October 1966, Cherry had just visited her college library, and police believe that while she was busy, her killer disabled her Volkswagen Beetle, and her car, which was outside the library. So while she was in there, which also clearly shows that the killer was also stalking her to plan this thoroughly. This was a pre-planned attack, and this is what they wanted to do. Thank you, Zodiac Killer, for not being announced. He doesn't really. There's no sexual thing about any of this, which is a first for this channel when it comes to True Crime Fridays, if I'm being honest. So her car was found 100 yards from the alley where she was actually killed. The man's Timex watch with a band suggesting a 7-inch wrist was found at the scene, along with a military-style heel print indicating a size 8 to 10 shoe. Now, because his Timex watch was actually found at the scene, this could possibly indicate that she did try her best to fight for her life, because obviously there must have been a bit of a scuffle, which resulted with the watch coming off his wrist and being used as evidence. Yeah, I get what you mean. Thanks for not raping them, but you killed them. It's such a weird one. I think because we've covered so many cases while doing True Crime Fridays here that are sexually motivated, you kind of just thank you for not doing this, but they also did kill. So it's such a weird thing because we're so used to hearing the disgusting sexual sides of it. So the shoes could have been sold at a nearby March military Air Force base. The investigators established that the watch was ripped from the attacker's wrist during the struggle, like I said. Although the watch stopped at 12:24, it's unknown exactly when the crime occurred. Bates died very quickly from her injuries at the scene. During the investigation, the Zodiac Killer was first considered a suspect in the Bates murder in October 1969, when the Riverside Police Department noted some similarities between the Bates case and the Napa County's Zodiac killing of September 27, 1969. By November 1970, the news media had gotten wind of the possible Zodiac Killer and Bates murder connection, and both the San Francisco Chronicle and Los Angeles Times published lengthy stories. Zodiac detectives from the San Francisco Bay Area met with investigators handling the Bates case, and the conclusion was made that the Zodiac was Cherry's killer. Eventually, the Zodiac Killer actually sent a letter to the Los Angeles Times, postmarked on the 13th of March 1971, accepting responsibility for the Bates crime. Now, this is very weird because in 1971, the Zodiac Killer had actually already stopped killing around this time. So he'd actually completely stopped. His last crime was in 1969. So he was still actually communicating with the police and journalists after he had already stopped killing, and probably was not intending to kill again. But as we will eventually get to, I think that the Zodiac Killer carried on afterwards. Just things haven't been matched up, or he changed his method. So the Zodiac Killer actually accepted responsibility for the Bates crime. As in the subsequent Zodiac attacks, the Bates case saw police taunting letters written to the newspapers. A confession letter was mailed anonymously from Riverside on November 29, 1966, on a Tuesday, to both the Riverside Police Department and Riverside Press Enterprise newspaper. Now, they included details of the murder that had never been revealed by the police. Can someone clip that? Can someone clip that? Why am I so accepting of RIP being played during our talk about murder over absolutely anything else? Clearly, I've got issues. Evidently, haven't I? I've clearly got something wrong. Thank you, Em. So, right, Jesus, where was I? So these included details of the murder which have been revealed by police. And in December 1966, I'm actually going to be able to show you this as well. So in December 1966, a desk with a morbid poem scratched into the surface was discovered in the college library. So why? I can't do it. I need to move that. Thank you, Izika, for the follow. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. If I'm not, then please let me know and I apologize. Also, I'd like to thank for the host. Thank you so much. Yeah. So, this image right here is the desk with the poem scratched into the surface. So this was discovered in the college library. The writing was actually eventually attributed to the Zodiac Killer, so the writing on the desk was actually eventually matched up to the Zodiac Killer. Now, additionally, 3 other letters were sent anonymously from Riverside on the 30th of April 1967 to those above recipients, as well as to the victim's father, Joseph. Now, these have all been attributed to the Zodiac Killer. So the next victims are the first actual known victims of the Zodiac Killer. This is David Faraday and Betty Lou Jensen. So David Faraday and Betty Lou Jensen were murdered on the 20th of December 1968, which was on a Friday. Now, they were attacked at 11:15 p.m. at a gravel parking area along remote Lake Herman Road on the eastern outskirts of Vallejo, California. I am probably pronouncing all of this wrong, and if I am, please correct me, and I apologize. I know, she's absolutely gorgeous! So David Faraday was 17 years old at the time of his death, and he was shot once in the head at point-blank range and died within minutes. Betty Lou Jensen was 16 years old at the time of her death and was shot 5 times in the back and was killed instantly. The weapon was identified as a .22 caliber semi-automatic pistol. The ammunition was Winchester Western Super X copper coated long rifle. There was no indication of robbery or sexual molestation again. This happens throughout all of the crimes, but I'm just going to keep on letting you know. While there was no witnesses, but there were several vehicles which were seen in the area just prior to a local resident called Stella Morges who discovered the couple's bodies. So they were actually there because so according to the police report, the victims were apparently approached while occupying Faraday's station wagon. The couple have actually stopped in the area because it was actually known at the time to be a very popular lover's lane, which I think is just like the cutest thing to say. Now, shots were fired into the vehicle in an apparent effort to force them out. Jensen actually left the front passenger door first, followed by Faraday. Faraday was shot as he emerged from the car, and Jensen was then shot as she tried to run away from the car for her life on foot. It was the first date for her as well, so her parents actually never really let her go on a date before. She was only 16 years old, and at the time, obviously, it was very, very different. So this was the first date that she was actually allowed to go on, and the crime scene actually shocked the community, and the shooting could not be explained by either of the families. They have no idea who would want to target their children because they were good kids. They were loved by so many people. They had a lot of friends, and no one could understand why this happened. So while these two are traditionally considered defined Zodiac victims, there have been many other suspects in the case. So in the early 1990s, a former Villaggio Police Department detective John Lynch said the couple was killed because Faraday had learned of a major drug deal and had been talking openly about who was involved. Now, other sources have speculated that the Zodiac Killer wasn't responsible because no taunting letters or phone calls were received until months after the murders. However, when the Zodiac Killer finally took credit for the attack, he proved many details that were not known to the general public, so they were only known to the police officers and not known to anyone else. Which tends to be how a lot of people get charged with these crimes, because they know things that the police only know themselves and they've never actually released. Which is why a lot of police officers should probably just keep their mouths fucking shut. So perhaps the Zodiac's sense of fulfillment following the Faraday Jensen murders was so strong that he didn't feel the need to immediately brag about the news to the media. Maybe it was just that much for satisfaction, considering this is classified as the first murder. So more than 30 years later, local residents still haven't forgotten about this crime. It's still very much remembered throughout the entire community, even by those who weren't alive at the time. The secluded area of the murders hasn't changed at all, so they kept it exactly the same as how it was on that exact day. You need an idea on what to say. Do you not remember what we told you yesterday, Em? We gave you like a list of things to say to him. So the next victims are Darlene Ferrin and Mike Miego? I'm going to say Miego. It's Maggio? Magoo? I'm going to say Magoo. I'm going to say Magoo. I think he's Mike Magoo. So this attack is quite different to the previous one. This attack includes one member of the couple actually surviving. So Darlene Ferrin was killed on the 5th of July 1969 on a Saturday, and Mike was wounded on the exact same date, obviously. The time of the attack was around 12:10 in the morning at the parking lot of a secluded Blue Rock Springs Park on the eastern outskirts of Villaggio, California. Darlene was 22 years old at the time of her death, and she was shot 5 times, and Mike, who was 19 years old at the time, was shot 4 times. The weapon was identified as a 9mm semi-automatic pistol. There was no indication of robbery or sexual molestation again, and there was also no witnesses. So Ferrin was actually married at the time and worked as a waitress at a Terry's restaurant. Mike was single and worked as a labourer, and Ferrin's husband Dean was initially the suspect of the murder. Yes. That's perfect. That's perfect. It's chilled and it's honest. Perfect. Say fuck it and send it. So yeah, her husband was originally the initial suspect of the murder. However, this was ruled out once it was established that he was actually working as a cook at a Caesar's restaurant at the time of the murder, and he has a lot of witnesses, including his boss, to vouch for this. So Ferrin's first husband, James Phillips Captree, was also a suspect. According to the surviving victim, Mike, he and Ferrin had parked at the isolated location to talk. A car, possibly a light brown Ford Mustang or a Chevrolet Corvair, pulled up into the lot just a few feet away. Hey Carolina, how you doing? A man with a flashlight left the vehicle and actually approached them. There was no other cars in the parking lot at the time, so it was just those two. Thinking it was a police officer, the couple had their identification ready. Without warning, the man began firing at the couple. After 5 shots were fired, the man walked slowly back to his car. Mike screamed in pain, and at which point the man returned and fired 2 more shots into each victim, clearly making sure that they were dead. It was at this point that Mike got a good look at him. Now, this is what Mike said that the attacker looked like. The man was white He was 5'8" to 5'9" in height, in his late 20s to early 30s, stocky build, round face, and brown hair. No conversation between the victims and the man occurred, so no voice can be detected. Approximately 45 minutes later, the police department received a call from a man claiming responsibility for the attack. He correctly identified the weapon used as a 9mm and also took credit for the Faraday and Jensen murders of December 20th, 1968. For the next few weeks, the investigation went nowhere. Not too bad, Kalina, not too bad. We're talking about the Zodiac Killer, and you're here for most of it. What up about that? So on the 31st of July, 1969, letters were sent to the Vigilo Times Herald, San Francisco Examiner, and San Francisco Chronicle. Nice, Carolina. Well, we're on the second confirmed murders. So now the letters claim to be from the killer of Faraday and Jensen and Ferrin. Details included that the details that were in the letter could only be known by the killer, and each letter contained 1/3 of a chipper that, if solved, supposedly contained the killer's identity. So the letters did actually confirm something that could get the identity of the Zodiac Killer. While the killer hadn't yet given himself the name Zodiac at the time, this marked the beginning of a letter-writing spree that would go on for more than 5 years. Bear in mind, most of these carried on after the killings had stopped. Do it, bitch! So in 1991, Mike identified Arthur Lee Allen as being the shooter. The identification was the result of Mike being shown a photo lineup by one of the members of the police department. When he asked Mike why he had never identified Allen in the 20 years Allen had been the top suspect, Mike said that if he had ever been shown any pictures of the suspects, and he had only been asked if he had recognized certain names. So Mike, for about 20 years after the crimes, had never been shown any pictures of the suspects, only been told names, which is fucking ridiculous. If Mike's statement is true, then it's probably the biggest law enforcement blunder of modern times. But I'm also not surprised anymore with what they do. So the next victims are of Cecilia Shepard and Brian Hartnell. So this again is another case where only one person in the couple actually survives the attack. So Cecilia was killed on the 29th of September 1969 on a Monday. She actually died in hospital because 2 days before she died, that was when the attack took place on the 27th of September 1969 at 6:15 p.m. Now, Cecilia was 22 years old when she died, and she was stabbed 10 times, 5 in the front and 5 in the back. Brian was 20 years old at the time of his attack, and he was stabbed 6 times in the back. The knife had a wooden handle and a blade approximately 10 to 12 inches. There was no indication of robbery or sexual molestation again. And again, there was also no witnesses. Bitch, do it! You'll regret it. If you never do it, you'll regret it. So according to the police report, the couple was relaxing on a blanket at a very remote location by a lake. Shepard noticed a man approaching them wearing an unusual costume and holding a gun. The guy appeared to be more than 6 foot tall with a heavy build. He also claimed he was a prison escapee from either Montana or Colorado and needed money and a car to flee back to Mexico. Hartnell offered his wallet and car keys, which weren't actually taken away from him. After several minutes of conversation, the man tied the couple with a plastic clothesline and began stabbing them. Hartnell was attacked first, then Shepard, and after the assault, the man walked casually away from the scene as if nothing had ever actually happened. After several minutes, a nearby fisherman heard the couple screaming in pain and alerted park rangers. By the time help actually arrived, though, Shepard and Hartnell were had managed to untie their restraints, and it took nearly an hour for an ambulance to arrive. At which time, both victims were in critical condition. So just over an hour after the attack, the Napa Police Department received a call from a man claiming responsibility for the stabbing. The call was quickly traced to a phone booth in downtown Napa, and fingerprints were later recovered. Meanwhile, Napa County Sheriff's Department deputies were responding to the crime scene. They found that the attacker had written a message on the victim's car door. The message included the dates of the Faraday, Jensen, and Ferrin and McGough attacks and was signed with a circle cross symbol. Now, this circle cross symbol would be the first time it was ever shown with any of the crimes, which later on would become the Zodiac Killer's key signature. The tire tracks indicated the killer had parked behind the victim's car. A size 10.5 wing walker shoe prints were recovered from the scene, indicating a suspect weighing more than 210 pounds. Detectives later located three young women who had noticed a strange man in the general area just a couple of hours before the attack. Now, Shepard died within 48 hours of the stabbing, and her funeral services attracted a huge crowd of mourners. Brian also recovered from his wounds and is now an attorney in Southern California. While Brian gave many interviews in the first few years after the attack, he is no longer discussing the case with the news and media. Many suspects were scrutinized, including serial killer Ted Bundy. A February 1989 comparison of fingerprints helped clear Bundy of the crime. So originally Ted Bundy was actually a suspect to this case. Just fucking do it. Seriously, you will regret this if you don't do it. I guarantee you will regret this. If you're both cuddling together, there are chances are that he feels the exact same, and take that risk, take that chance. Do it. So this was a bizarre and horrific crime, especially at the time and even to this day. A careful consideration of the fact should dispel all myths that Zodiac Killer was simply a super criminal only intent on taunting the police. Rather, he was a very warped individual who apparently had grown bored with the mere idea of killing. He just did it at this point. So now he just did this to achieve satisfaction. It wasn't even the thing that he genuinely liked anymore. The final known murder of the Zodiac Killer is Paul Stine. So, Paul Stine was killed on the 11th of October 1969, which was on a Saturday. He was attacked at around 9:55 p.m. on the northeast corner of Washington and Cherry Streets in the Pasadena Heights neighborhood of San Francisco, California. Paul Stine was a cab driver and was 29 years old at the time of his death. He was shot once in the head at point-blank range, and the weapon was a 9mm semi-automatic pistol, not the same 9mm used in the Ferrin murder, just want to clarify. There were 3 witnesses from a house on the southeast corner of the intersection, by the way. So there were actually witnesses for this one. Do it. So, Stine's cab was actually hired at Mason and Gary Streets, with the intended destination being Washington and Maple Streets near the Pasedo. For reasons that are completely unknown, the cab ended up at Washington and Cherry Streets, a block away from the original destination. Stine's wallet and keys were taken, and a large portion of his shirt was carefully torn off, possibly as a trophy. Bloody fingerprints, potentially of the subject, were recovered from the vehicle. According to the police, to a police document, a pair of men's size 7 black leather gloves was also found. The 3 witnesses watched the suspect from approximately 60 feet away as he wiped down the cab and with a cloth after killing Paul. So he actually tried his best to cover his tracks during this. So the witnesses called the police and described the man as a white male, 25 to 30 years old, 5'8" to 5'9", stocky build, reddish brown hair, and he worn in a crew cut, heavy rimmed glasses, and dark clothing, which is very similar to the first description of the Zodiac Killer. So all very, very similar descriptions. You did it, yeah. Yes! I mean, I don't think he's gonna see it instantly. But oh my god, this is such a revelation. So, unfortunately for the witnesses, the police dispatcher mistakenly described the suspect as being a black male adult. The witnesses said he was white. All the witnesses have said the fucker was white. Why are you telling people that he is black? What is fucking wrong with you? Do you really... This is what I don't fucking get with a lot of racist people. Do you really hate black people so fucking much that you would actually let a white guy get away with serial murders just to fucking get someone locked away or possibly get the death sentence? Are you that much of a sick arsehole that you genuinely hate someone because they got a different skin color that fucking much that you would let someone who is white get away with serial murders? What the fuck is wrong with you? You are you're the one. You're also fucked in the head if you are a person that does that kind of shit. If you know someone was white that did this, you know the person that did the crime was white, but you say it's a black person, you're a fucked up piece of shit. End of. So as a result, the patrol officers Donald Fuck. It's Donald. It's literally spelled Fouke. Fuck. Donald Fuck. And Eric Zelms a minute later observed a white man walking east on Jackson Street. He was never stopped or questioned. Of course he fucking wasn't. The officers did get a good look at him, however, and when the correct description of the suspect was finally broadcasted, the officers realized they might have actually come face to face with the Zodiac Killer when walking past him. Are you kidding me? Oh my god, if the fucking dispatcher would have given the police officers the correct description of the Zodiac Killer that the witnesses said, then we could have had the Zodiac Killer case solved. Are we understanding this right now? This case has been unsolved for over 30 years. About 40, 50 years now, this case has been unsolved. When it could have been solved back in 1969. It could have been solved then. Because they would have seen the cunt, arrested him because he fit the description, because all these police officers are out looking for a black guy when really it was a white man. So the dispatcher would have been a little bit less fucking racist and did the job properly. We would know the identity of the Zodiac Killer, and the fucker would be in jail right now. Is anyone understanding the frustration that this is right now? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? This might not have been unsolved for so many fucking years. No one knows who the Zodiac Killer is. The Zodiac Killer case is unsolved. No one knows who the Zodiac Killer is. If that dispatcher would have actually not have been a racist piece of shit and told the officers in the area, you are looking for a white guy with this description and not a black guy, the police officers would have clocked that the guy that they walked past with and actually came face to face with almost They would have clocked that. They would have gone up to him, questioned him, possibly arrested him for questioning and took him in. And like all serial killers, the fucker would have probably confessed. We could have fucking solved this so fucking long ago. Are you kidding me? They called him Zodiac Killer because of the letters, but also because of the symbol that he would leave as with the letters as like a marking. I'm clipping my rant. At some point, I'm going to clip my rant after this. So, after that little kerfuffle, a search of the area where the man had been observed was conducted, but, however, naturally, the guy had fucked off. The man seen by the police officers was very similar to the suspect observed by the 3 witnesses. He was white, but he was looking to be 35 to 45 years old. Bear in mind the witnesses were 60 feet away, so that, fair enough. He was 5'10", which is about accurate to what the people were saying the entire fucking time. Between 180 to 200 pounds, which again is accurate to the previous murders. Barrel-chested and light-coloured, crew-cut hair and wearing glasses. The man didn't appear to be carrying anything, and no conversation between the man and the officers took place. Because they tend to fucking drop the weapons, man. He keeps changing his weapons. He gets new ones for every murder. Oh my god. So the spine murder was initially thought to be a routine cabbie killing, because apparently this was normal back in the day. A robbery gone bad. However, on the 13th of October 1969, the San Francisco Chronicle received a letter from the Zodiac Killer containing a portion of bloody shirt, which he took from the crime scene. And he also took credit for the killing. So, inspectors David Toshi and Bill Armstrong, nice, who were assigned the case, were shocked to realize the shirt belonged to Stein. Still later, Zodiac would claim he actually spoke with the patrolman the night of the murder, leaving them astray. So, do you know what that means, ladies and gents? My theys as well. Clip it. The Zodiac Killer himself has said that he was the person who walked past the police officers. The urge to punch the dispatcher is unreal. Fire the dispatcher. They needed to have fired that cunt. Because that bastard is the reason on why the Zodiac Killer has not been caught yet. Dude, what? The 3 witnesses, though hampered by poor lighting conditions and fog during their observation of the crime, worked with a police composite artist to put a face on the Zodiac Killer, which is where we get the E-fit that we are so known to have seen. A few days after the sketch was circulated throughout the Bay Area in the form of a wanted poster, the witnesses requested the sketch be altered to make it look more accurate, and thus another version was made, which is the one we all know. More than a month after Stein's murder, Officer Fook finally came forward about his possible encounter with the killer. Conclusion, in early 2004, the decision was made to close the case, much to the outrage of one recently retired detective. Racism literally stopped a murderer from being stopped. Well, he didn't kill after this, but it literally stopped you from catching a serial killer. So, we're going to go a bit more in to the case itself. So, like we all know, the Zodiac Killer is known to have sent many cryptic, taunting, and puzzling letters to the authorities, the press, and famed lawyer Melvin Belli. In these letters, the Zodiac Killer made his intentions and wishes known, as well as allegedly his state of mind. In some, he would include odd drawings, mosaics of photos, and astrological charts. The first letters included a chipper in which he claimed hid his identity. It eventually revealed a disturbing piece where he clarified his motivations, but it didn't include anything that would be identified as a name. Below are some of the letters Zodiac Killer sent to the police department and local newspapers. So today, most of the kippers have been definitely solved. It could be anyone, freaky as hell. Where did he get the name Zodiac Killer? So Zodiac Killer is actually already given to him, but we will get into that, don't worry. So he could be anyone, but Zodiac Killer could be watching this right now. Yeah, probably not. He's probably a bit too old, and he probably doesn't know how to work it. Just me taunting a serial killer that could easily watch the stream. Dickhead. Oh god, I'm definitely gonna die by a serial killer at some point in my lifetime. I can already see it. So from the accounts of the few survivors known from the Zodiac attacks, it is generally believed that the Zodiac dressed in black clothing of various types, depending on the month. He liked to style it up, clearly. And at least on one occasion, the Zodiac Killer wore a dark hood decorated with the Zodiac symbol. So the Zodiac came from the Zodiac Killer came from the continuous use of the Zodiac symbol. You want to know what the Zodiac symbol looks like? Go Google it. Mate, you know what? I am convinced, not in our side of the not in your side of the family, but I'm convinced in Mum's side of the family that there's something that has gone on there. They don't Dad is so open about your side of the family, about family history and stuff like that, and he doesn't really care. But whenever I go to my mum and go, so what about your family history? She goes, best not getting into that. I'm like, hey, yeah, what? Tell me now. And she just goes, no, we don't want to know. Don't ask your nana either. She won't be too happy about that. I'm like, a little bit suspicious. Remember Hitler killed himself, dude. Remember that. So his methods varied also, with some victims being dispatched by an automatic pistol or bladed weapons, and was mostly known as a military-style knife. According to one of his letters, he, during the Christmas killings, had a pencil-sized flashlight taped to his gun in order to be able to shoot in the dark. Kind of smart, I'm not gonna lie. The Zodiac's usual pattern of attack was to target Caucasian teenage couples, strike when they were in some secluded area, mostly lovers' lanes, and or in a car, and kill them by either shooting them or stabbing them with a knife. His method of approaching them is known to have been varied. When he attacked Mago and Ferren, he walked up to the car and started shooting at them without saying a word. While during the Hartnell and Shepard stabbing, he approached them pretending to be a robber before instructing Shepard to tie up Hartnell with some pre-cut lengths of rope, then tying her up himself. During the latter killing, he claimed to have been an escaped convict who had killed a guard and needed their car and money so that he could flee to Mexico. When he killed Paul Stein, he got into his taxi, shot him in the head with a 9mm, took his wallet, car keys, and bloodied piece of his shirt, the latter of which he would later send to the Chronicle. So it changed throughout. I'm surprised there isn't one already. Probably because it's not solved and they don't want to do that. Give it time. They've already done that kind of stuff with Jack the Ripper, so maybe give it time. So the Zodiac Killer has been profiled by John Douglas in his book The Cases That Haunt Us as being a narcissistic and paranoid social misfit and loner who was mainly driven by the need for attention, power, and most of all, credibility. He felt the urge to prove his intellectual superiority in order to compensate his own feelings for inferiority and words can't say it. So one thing we are going to be going into, so before we go into the suspects, we are going to go into the main suspects of the Zodiac Killer. But first, before we go into the suspects, I'm going to read you out the description of the Zodiac Killer, just so you can think it a little bit through. And you guys can tell me who you think is the Zodiac, who was or is the Zodiac Killer. I can tell you who I think it is. Survivors and witnesses of the Zodiac attacks described him as approximately 5'8" to 5'10" in height, curly brown or light reddish brown hair worn in a crew cut, wearing horn-rimmed eyeglasses, and usually wore dark clothing, usually wool trousers and dark navy blue or black windbreaker jackets, with distinctive military jump boots known as wing walkers. I don't think it's multiple people. It's all been described as one person. Medium or slightly stocky build. One survivor describes the Zodiac as having an odd gait, that is, he had a peculiar lumbering or heavy walk. Boot prints found at the Hartnell Shepherd crime scene were size 10.5. Survivor Brian Hartnell describes Zodiac's voice as slow and measured, having a unique sound and a cadence with a monotone. So, the first suspect. Alright, let me get it up. The first suspect was Arthur Lee Allen. Also, one of the survivors of the attacks thinks that Arthur Lee Allen is the Zodiac Killer. They are pretty convinced. So this is Arthur Lee Allen. He was born in 1933 and died in 1992. He is the prime suspect in the investigation. He's ugly. They're all fucking ugly. He was dishonorably discharged from the U.S. Navy. If we're going to count serial killers, going into the military is one of them. He looks like a nonce. He does, doesn't he? Elementary school teacher and janitor. He was a lifeguard. He was a sailmaker, and he had a high IQ. He was allegedly in Riverside when Sherry Jo Bates was murdered, though to be the Lee Linda Ferrin, Darlene Ferrin's sister, referred to as best friend with Darlene. So apparently he knew Darlene as well. Admitted to having bloody knives in his car on the weekend of the Zodiac stabbing at the lake, but claimed that the blood came from a chicken he had killed for dinner. He was taller than the description of the perpetrator of the Mayhew and Ferrin shooter, and was balding at the time, which could eliminate the whole hair theory, which the perpetrator was not described as being. Was in jail. Oh, here we go! Here we go! You want the nonce? Here's the nonce. He was in jail for child molestation during the time of the alleged Zodiac's 1971 to 1974 hiatus. However, some suggested Zodiac's hiatus to have started well before Allen was incarcerated. Here's a nonce. He is named Robert Hall Starr in Grayson's non-fiction book Zodiac. Still generally considered the prime suspect in the case in the eyes of the public, in no small part due to Grayson's book and the movie adaptation. His guns, fingerprints, and handwriting were all compared to the case evidence, but he was cleared. Also in 2002, a DNA comparison was made between a stamp from a Zodiac Killer letter and Allen's DNA and came back negative. although Allen had stated that he never licked his stamps because the glue made him feel sick. The Zodiac Killer did not rape his victims, but... yeah. In 1991, survivor Michael pointed him out when shown a set of Zodiac suspect photos from the time of the killings. His identification was in turn deemed inconsistent by the authorities. So one of these survivors actually says that he did the murders. So the next suspect was Jack Tarrance, who was born in 1928 and died in 2006. He was honorably discharged from the US Air Force and Navy. He was a ham radio operator, steel company worker, General Electric test foreman, and laundry attendant. He was reported to the police by his stepson, Dennis. Dennis turned over several pieces of evidence that made him think that Jack was the Zodiac Killer. This included a hood similar to the one described by one of the victims, handwriting samples, undeveloped photo film reels, one of which contained gruesome images, a knife covered with dried blood, a tape phone conversation in which Terrence may indirectly hint that he was the Zodiac Killer. But DNA testing by the FBI proved inconclusive. Not that one. The next one is Lawrence Larry Kane. He was born in 1924 and died in 2010. Now, he matched the Zodiac description, although approximately, but only like by a little bit, strongly, oh my god. I don't know why, but guys like this freak me out. He was strongly attached to his mother. Ugh. He was a U.S. Navy sailor. He attended Navy's radio marital school where he trained worked various white-collar jobs. He was known as a peeping Tom, prowler, and con artist. Also key features of a serial killer. Was arrested for these and other crimes. Suffered an accident in 1962, which according to medical reports compromised his control of self-gratification. Fucking head injuries, dude! It happens every time. Lived in the vicinity of the spot where approximately Zodiac was picked up by Paul Stein on the night that he was shot. Lived and worked in South Lake Tahoe, where a suspect Zodiac victim, Donna Lass, disappeared. He also worked in the vicinity of Lass's workplace. Co-workers said Kane and Lass actually knew each other. Identified by Darlene Ferrin's sisters, Pam and Linda, as the man whom harassed Darlene before her murder. However, both identified several other people before Kane, such as George Walters, a man known as Lee, and William Grant. So their claims are deemed doubtful. So he was identified, although not with absolute certainty, by one of the policemen who presumably spotted the Zodiac Killer minutes after the murder of Paul Stein. So one of the police officers might think that's him. Also identified by Kathleen Johns, a suspected Zodiac Killer victim, as the man whom abducted her and her daughter. Retired detective Ed Russ believes Kane to be the killer, as well as Donna Lass being one of his victims. Now, he was identified by Donna Lass's friend Larry Lowe as having been interested in astrology. Don't understand why that makes sense. Zodiac, yeah. Actually, that makes a lot more sense. He was described by people around him, including his friend John Miles, as an egotist. He was diagnosed in 1943 with psychosis hysteria, which I do not know what that is. The next suspect is Bruce Davis, who is still alive to this day. He was born in 1942. Now, Bruce Davis was also a former member of the Manson family, ladies and gentlemen, and theys. So Bruce Davis here was a member of the Manson family. He was declared, along with other members of the family, briefly suspected to be behind the murders. So, yes, the Manson family were suspected of being behind the Zodiac Killer murders, but it all eventually turned out to not be true. He's still alive, yeah. The next one is Richard Rick Marshall. He was born in 1928 and died in 2008. According to some acquaintances, he lived in Riverside at the time of Cherry Joe Bates' murder, but we can't exactly call people murderers for living in the same area. He was a US Navy sailor, had code training, silent movie theater projectionist, movie buff, obviously you can't tell by his pictures. Maybe that would be a long one. I think I'd have to do it as a YouTube video because that would be so long to do on stream. Maybe during the 12-hour one on my birthday. He was a ham radio enthusiast, was known to have had a bad temper with women, and named Donald Jeff Andrews in Graysmith's non-fiction book Zodiac. The next one is... I'm getting so close to the one who I think it is. We can do that one day. We're going to do a 12-hour stream in July, remember? So I feel like that'd be a good time to do a really long one, because I feel like that's just better for that. But I would have to say, when it comes up to the 12-hour one, if we are going to do that, I'm going to have to take a few weeks off True Crime Fridays in order to prepare. So this is Louis Myers. He was born in 1951 and died in 2002. Now, he admitted on his deathbed to being the Zodiac Killer. He went to the same high schools as the first confirmed male and female victims. He worked at the same building as the second female victim. Had access to the type of military boots the Zodiac Killer is known to have worn through his father's job. He served in the US Army, worked as a long-haul truck driver, had a criminal record in Vallejo for petty unrelated crimes such as theft and disorderly conduct, was stationed at a military base in Germany during the Zodiac's alleged hiatus, but he did not fit the description of the Zodiac given by witnesses. He's not got the correct description. He wasn't at that height. Now, do you guys want to see who I think it is? Just based on how he looks. I only think that it's him based off how he looks. The next suspect he admitted on his deathbed, but then again, he might just have done that based out of illness or the reason that he died, pretty much. So this is Earl Van Best Jr. Witnesses denied that it was him and he did not fit the description. Thanks, Matt. Earl Van Best Jr. He was born in 1936 and he died in 1984. He was named as a suspect by his son, Gary L. Stewart, in his book, The Most Dangerous Animal of All, in 2014. He was a rare book dealer, and he was convicted, guys, here we go. He was convicted of raping a minor and a document and wire fraud, and incarcerated for years in a maximum security facility for the criminally insane and San Quentin. The dude's a nonce. And he got put in a prison for the criminally insane. So he also matched the Zodiac Killer's description. He died in 1984. He didn't rape his victims, but he does. But like I said, I only think he matches up to the Zodiac Killer based on looks. Yeah, because if you get like the E-fit and you get his picture and you put them like literally on top of each other, it's like that. Perfect. Mate, it's perfect fit, which is so weird. I was ones with glasses that do messed up stuff. Dude, Alistair wears glasses. This is Paul Gajkowski. He was born in 1936 and he died in 2004. He matched approximately the Zodiac Killer's description. He served in the US Army, worked as an investigative reporter for a Contra Costa newspaper, also worked for a rival newspaper to the one Darlene Ferrin's husband worked for, and while both Kowalski and Darlene lived there. So basically, he pretty much knew who she was. He was known as a film buff, drug user, and anti-police activist. You probably were cool. But you were probably the Zodiac Killer, but you sound cool for that first bit. Fuck you. Now, he had a habit of shortening his last name to 4 letters and used multiple spellings such as Geik or Gaik or the word Geik. So the word Geik can actually be seen in Zodiac's 3-part like evidence that he sent over on the 31st of July 1969. An establishment of the counterculture newspaper he worked for, The Good Times, was located near Paul Stine's murder scene. Also, his cousin lived in the area. Paul Stine's sister recognized him as having attended her brother's funeral. Neither Richard or Paul knew each other, but this is so freaky. They didn't know each other, but Richard turned up to his funeral, which is so freaky. He was diagnosed with mental illness shortly before the Zodiac alleged hiatus. When the Zodiac re-emerged, he was operating a storefront theater in San Francisco. Nancy Slover, the police dispatcher who spoke with the Zodiac in July 1969, identified his voice as being the same as the Zodiac Killer's voice. And in 1986, the Napa County Sheriff's Department briefly investigated him. Meanwhile, the California Department of Justice determined that his handwriting had been consistencies with the Zodiac's handwriting, and more samples of his printings were requested. Those samples were determined to not be a match, though. He was also considered as being a prime suspect by Zodiac Killer scholar Tom Voigt. And one thing that is also quite weird is that since the Zodiac Killer, just to end it, yes, you can. Oh god, I'm too close. Good. So to this date, there has been two infamous killers who emulated the Zodiac Killer, but they got caught. So fuck them, I guess. Heriberto Eddie Seda, aka the New York Zodiac. He was born on the 31st of July 1967. He was inspired by the Zodiac Killer, but he shot 10 people, 3 of which died. He targeted his victims based on their zodiac signs, used zip guns, arrested after a non-fatality shooting his half-sister in the back, and is currently serving time in jail for murder and attempted murder. Yeah, okay. Thank you, Em. So, the next one that was a copycat, I guess, was Saito Sakakibara, Now, he was Japanese. He was 14 years old when he was arrested. This copycat killer was 14 years old when he was arrested. His real name is not revealed due to Japanese child protection laws. And he killed a 10-year-old boy and an 11-year-old girl. Also claimed to have assaulted 3 other girls. He wrote letters with a language similar to that of the original Zodiac. And he was released after several years of imprisonment. So the height was 5'8" to 5'10". So guys, that was the Zodiac Killer. By the looks of it, that was the Zodiac Killer. That is all we know about the infamous Zodiac Killer. There is no more information as of yet. My personal opinion is that I think none of those suspects were the actual Zodiac Killer, and I do think that the Zodiac Killer is still alive to this day. Who do I think it is, Gay Vibes? I do not think it was any of them. Well, if I'm going to pick one, I'm going to sway towards the first one. I do not think it was actually any of them, though. I feel like the killer's still out there. I'm potentially watching this show. But thank you guys for watching True Crime Friday.